Before we begin, we would love for you to be part of our family. Subscribe today and turn on the bell notification. Now enjoy. Darasimi screamed, kicking with all her might. The grip on her ankle tightened, dragging her back into the vent. Panic surged through her veins. She twisted around and saw a masked man holding onto her, his eyes cold and determined. Tunde and Ayo acted fast. Tunde reached down, slamming his fist onto the man's hand. Ayo pulled Darasimi up with all his strength. The masked man lost his grip, falling back into the warehouse below with a crash. Darasimi gasped for air as they finally reached the opening. One by one, they dropped down into the night, their bodies landing softly on the damp grass. The captives followed, trembling but free. "We need to move," Tunde urged, guiding them toward a waiting van at the end of the alley. The engine was already running. Bayo, the driver, had been waiting for their signal. As soon as they piled in, Bayo sped off. Behind them, sirens wailed. The authorities were arriving. The criminals in the warehouse would finally be brought to justice. Darasimi clutched Ayo's hand tightly, her heart still racing. She looked around at the rescued captives, their eyes filled with gratitude. Tears welled up in her own eyes. "We did it," she whispered. Ayo smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "You did it, Darasimi. You never gave up." The van disappeared into the distance, leaving behind the chaos and the past. A new beginning awaited Darasimi, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of a brighter future. Darasimi leaned against the window, watching the city lights blur past as Bayo drove through the quiet streets. The weight of everything that had happened pressed heavily on her, but for the first time in a long while, she felt safe. Tunde sat beside her, arms crossed, deep in thought. Ayo, ever the optimist, gave her a reassuring smile. "You should rest, Darasimi. You've been through too much." She shook her head. "I don't think I can. Not yet. Not until I know it's truly over." As if on cue, Bayo's phone buzzed. He placed it on speaker. "Inspector Bala? We've secured the warehouse. Arrested every last one of them. Some tried to escape, but we caught them. You don't have to worry anymore." Relief washed over everyone in the van. Ayo reached for Darasimi's hand. "It's over." Darasimi exhaled deeply, her body finally allowing itself to relax. "Thank you, all of you." Tunde smirked. "You act like we had a choice. You practically dragged us into this." She chuckled. "And you followed. That means something." Bayo pulled into a small compound, where an elderly woman stood waiting at the doorway. Darasimi's breath caught in her throat. "Mama!" Her mother rushed forward, pulling her into a tight embrace. "My child. My beautiful, brave girl." Tears streamed down both their faces. "I thought I'd never see you again," her mother sobbed. "I'm here, Mama. I'm safe. And I promise, I'm never leaving you again." The others watched the reunion in silence, their own emotions raw. Tunde cleared his throat. "Looks like she finally gets her happy ending." Ayo grinned. "She deserves it." Darasimi turned back to them, smiling through her tears. "We all do." And for the first time in years, she truly believed it. The sun had barely risen when Darasimi stepped out of the small guest house where they had taken shelter for the night. The air was crisp, carrying the promise of a new day, one without fear, without the constant need to look over her shoulder. Tunde and Ayo stood nearby, speaking in hushed tones. When they saw her, they both turned, their faces softening. "Are you okay?" Ayo asked, stepping forward. She nodded. "I just needed some fresh air. Everything still feels surreal." Tunde exhaled, glancing at Ayo before speaking. "We have a plan. We know the remaining gang members are still out there, but the authorities are working on it. It's only a matter of time before they're caught. But before that, we need to get you somewhere safe." Darasimi looked between the two men who had risked their lives to save her. Gratitude swelled in her chest. "I won't run anymore. I want to see this through." If there's a way to stop them, I want to help. Io exchanged a glance with Tunde, then nodded. Then we stand together. But we do this smart. Just then, Bayo emerged from the guest house, stretching and yawning. Good morning, heroes. Hope you all got some rest. Now, what's the next move? Darasimi took a deep breath. She was no longer the helpless girl forced to run. Now, she was ready to fight back, to take control of her future. Whatever came next, she would face it head-on with the people she trusted by her side. The morning sun bathed the city in a golden glow as Darasimi stepped out onto the balcony of her new apartment. The fresh breeze kissed her face, a stark contrast to the darkness she had escaped. Life had finally taken a turn for the better. Inside, Io was setting the table for breakfast, a warm smile on his face. You keep staring at the view like you still can't believe it's real, he teased. Darasimi chuckled, sitting across from him. I really can't. Everything happened so fast. One moment, I was fighting for my life, and now I have peace. Tunde knocked on the door, letting himself in. Well, you deserve it, he said, placing a newspaper on the table. The headline read, *Human trafficking ring busted, survivors speak out. Darasimi swallowed hard, her fingers brushing the paper. I never thought I'd live to see justice served. Neither did I, Io admitted. But we did it. We made it out. And now, we move forward. Tunde smirked. Speaking of moving forward, have you told her yet? Io cleared his throat and reached into his pocket. Darasimi's eyes widened as he pulled out a small velvet box and opened it to reveal a dazzling ring. Darasimi, through everything we've been through, one thing has remained constant, my love for you. Will you marry me? Tears welled up in her eyes. The nightmare was over. The past no longer had power over her. With a joyful laugh, she nodded. Yes. Io, yes. Tunde clapped, shaking his head with a grin. About time. Laughter and love filled the room as Darasimi embraced her future, a future she had fought so hard for, now finally within reach. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the city as Darasimi stood by the window of her new apartment. The air felt lighter, freer. It had been weeks since the rescue, and life was finally starting to feel normal again. Tunde knocked on the door and stepped inside, a grin on his face. Guess what? The police just confirmed every single one of those criminals has been locked up. No chance of them ever seeing the outside world again. Darasimi let out a deep breath. That's the best news I've heard in a long time. Io walked in, holding a small box. And I have something for you. He handed it to her, his eyes warm and full of emotion. She opened it carefully, revealing a delicate bracelet with a small charm, a tiny orange. Darasimi laughed softly, her heart swelling. It's beautiful. A reminder of how far you've come, Io said. From the streets to here. You never stopped fighting. Tears welled up in her eyes, but this time, they were tears of happiness. She looked around at the people who had stood by her through everything, Tunde, Io, and even Bayo, who had just walked in, holding a tray of celebratory drinks. To new beginnings, Bayo said, raising his glass. To new beginnings, they all echoed, clinking their glasses together. Darasimi looked outside once more. The city stretched before her like an open book. A new chapter was about to begin, and for the first time in a long while, she knew it would be a happy one. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the quiet neighborhood as Darasimi stepped out of the house, inhaling the crisp air. She was free. Truly free. No more running, no more hiding. Io was already waiting for her by the car, his usual grin lighting up his face. Ready for your new life? He asked, opening the door for her. She smiled, nodding. More than ever. As they drove toward the orphanage, where she planned to volunteer, Darasimi felt a strange sense of peace wash over her. It had been a long road, full of danger and heartbreak, but she had survived. And now, she had a purpose. At the orphanage, the children gathered around her, their laughter filling the air. She knelt to their level, embracing their warmth, their innocence. This was where she belonged, where she could make a difference. Io watched from a distance, admiration in his eyes. He had seen her fight, struggle, and now he was seeing her heal. He walked up to her, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You're incredible, Darasimi," he said softly. She looked up at him, eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I finally feel like I can breathe again." And for the first time in a long time, she truly could. Darasimi sat on the balcony of her new home, gazing out at the cityscape. It was hard to believe how much her life had changed in such a short time. Just weeks ago, she had been fighting for survival, and now, she had a place to call her own, a place filled with hope and peace. Io walked up behind her, setting 2 cups of tea on the table. Lost in thought, he asked, taking a seat beside her. She nodded, a small smile forming on her lips. "It still feels unreal. I keep expecting something to go wrong." Io reached for her hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "You've earned this happiness, Darasimi. No one can take it away from you." She exhaled, allowing his words to sink in. He was right. She had fought hard, and now it was time to embrace the life she had always dreamed of. Just then, her phone buzzed with a message. It was from Tunde. "Big news. We got the final evidence against the syndicate. Justice is finally happening." Darasimi felt a wave of relief. They had done it. The people who had caused so much pain were finally going to pay for their crimes. She turned to Io, her heart swelling with gratitude. "For the first time in a long time, I feel safe." Io smiled, lifting his cup. "To new beginnings." She clinked her cup against his, ready to embrace the future, whatever it held. Darasimi sat on the porch of the orphanage, watching the children play. Their laughter filled the air, a stark contrast to the life she had left behind. She had been running for so long, and now, she had finally found a place where she felt safe. Io approached her, holding 2 cups of tea. He handed one to her and sat down beside her. "You look happy," he observed, taking a sip of his tea. She nodded, a smile touching her lips. "For the first time in a long time, I feel at peace. These kids, they remind me that life can still be beautiful." Io leaned back, watching the sunset. "You've come a long way, Darasimi. I knew you were strong, but seeing you here, seeing you heal, it's inspiring." She turned to him, sincerity in her eyes. "I wouldn't have made it without you, Io. You never gave up on me, even when I wanted to give up on myself." He chuckled, shaking his head. "You're impossible to give up on." Silence settled between them, comfortable and warm. For the first time, Darasimi wasn't worried about what would happen next. She had a future, one filled with hope, love, and the promise of a fresh start. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city as Darasimi and Io walked side by side through the bustling market. The scent of roasted corn and spices filled the air, mingling with the chatter of vendors and customers. Darasimi smiled as she handed a small bag of oranges to an elderly woman who had stopped her. "These are fresh, Mama. You'll love them." The woman beamed, pressing a few naira notes into Darasimi's palm. "May the heavens bless you, my child." Io watched with admiration. "You really do have a heart of gold, Darasimi." She laughed softly. "I just know what it's like to struggle. If I can make someone's day a little brighter, why not?" They continued strolling, passing by a group of children playing in the narrow streets. One of the younger boys tripped, scraping his knee. Without hesitation, Darasimi knelt down, gently inspecting the wound before tearing off a piece of her scarf to wrap around it. The boy sniffled, his eyes wide with gratitude. "Thank you, Auntie." Io shook his head in amazement. "You're something else." Darasimi met his gaze, a soft smile playing on her lips. "I just want to live a life that means something." As they walked on, she knew that every step forward was a step toward a brighter future, one filled with love, hope, and endless possibilities. The city lights shimmered in the distance as Darasimi and Io sat on the rooftop of their small apartment building. The journey had been long, filled with dangers neither of them had expected, but now, as they watched the stars above, a sense of calm settled between them. "I never imagined I'd find peace again," Darasimi murmured, hugging her knees to her chest. "After everything. I thought I'd be running forever." Io reached over, his fingers gently brushing against hers. "You're not running anymore. You're home." She looked at him, searching his face for the truth in his words. He had been her rock, her constant in a world that had tried to break her. And now, they were here, safe, together. The sound of laughter from the streets below made her smile. The children from the orphanage had been a reminder that even in the darkest times, light could be found. She had made it her mission to help them, to give them a future worth fighting for. Io chuckled, pulling her close. "You know, you could finally take that vacation you always talked about." She laughed, shaking her head. "And leave my new family behind?" "Never." He kissed the top of her head. "Then I guess I'll just have to stick around." For the first time in a long while, Darasimi let herself believe in happiness, in love, and in the future that lay ahead. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the city. Darasimi and Io stood side by side on the balcony of their new home, watching the city lights flicker to life. It had been a long journey, but they had finally found their peace. "Hard to believe how much has changed," Darasimi murmured, leaning against the railing. "I used to think I'd never get out of that life." Io wrapped an arm around her shoulder. "You fought for this. You deserve every bit of happiness coming your way." A soft breeze rustled through the trees, carrying with it the sound of laughter from the street below. Darasimi smiled. She had built something beautiful out of her pain, and now she had the chance to truly live. Io reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Darasimi's breath caught as he turned to face her, opening it to reveal a delicate ring. "I know we've been through so much, but I can't imagine my life without you. Darasimi, will you marry me?" Tears welled in her eyes as she looked up at him, overwhelmed with emotion. "Yes, Io. 1,000,000 times, yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, and as they embraced under the twilight sky, Darasimi knew this was the beginning of her forever. Darasimi sat on the balcony of her new home, overlooking the peaceful garden below. The past few months had been a whirlwind, but now, things were finally settling. She had built a life of her own, one she could be proud of. Io walked up behind her, holding 2 cups of tea. He handed her one, his fingers grazing hers for a brief moment. "You've been quiet today," he said, settling into the chair beside her. She took a deep breath, smiling as she sipped her tea. "Just thinking about how far we've come. It still feels unreal." Io chuckled. "You deserve this peace, Darasimi. After everything you've been through, this is your time to just live." She turned to him, her eyes full of gratitude. "And you? What about you, Io? Do you feel at peace?" He exhaled slowly, looking up at the sky. "With you? Yes. More than ever." Their gazes met, and for the first time, there were no doubts, no fears, just the quiet understanding that they had found something worth holding on to. Darasimi reached out, taking his hand in hers. "Then let's promise each other something. No more looking back. No more regrets." Io squeezed her hand gently. "No more looking back." The evening breeze carried their laughter as they sat there, watching the sun dip below the horizon. This was it, the life she had fought so hard for. And she was finally, truly happy. The sun hung low in the sky as Darasimi and Io walked along the peaceful shore, the gentle waves lapping at their feet. The past still haunted them, but the future held promise. "I never thought I'd get to a place like this," Darasimi admitted, staring at the horizon. "A place where I could just live." Io took her hand, squeezing it gently. "You fought for this, Darasimi. You deserve happiness." She turned to him, smiling softly. "So do you." Their moment was interrupted by the sound of laughter. Turning, they saw a group of children playing by the water. Darasimi's heart warmed. She had found joy in helping others, in giving back. The scars of the past would always be there, but they no longer defined her. "I've been thinking about something," Io said hesitantly. "What is it?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Her breath caught as he opened it, revealing a delicate ring. "Darasimi, you changed my life. I can't imagine my future without you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled in her eyes. The girl who had once sold oranges on the street, who had fought against all odds, had found love, hope, and a new beginning. "Yes," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. 1,000 times, yes. As Io slipped the ring onto her finger, the sun dipped below the horizon, marking the end of a long journey and the beginning of something beautiful. Darasimi stood before the mirror, adjusting the delicate bracelet on her wrist. It had been a gift from Io, a reminder of how far she had come. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the past slowly lift from her shoulders. Outside, Io was waiting with a bouquet of flowers, his smile warm and reassuring. "Ready?" he asked, holding out his hand. She nodded, placing her hand in his. More than ever. They arrived at a small, elegant venue where close friends and loved ones had gathered. The atmosphere was filled with laughter and joy. Today wasn't just a celebration of love, it was a celebration of survival, resilience, and new beginnings. As they stood before the officiant, Darasimi felt a sense of completeness she had never known before. This was her fresh start, her chance at happiness. Io squeezed her hand gently. "You deserve all the happiness in the world, Darasimi." Tears welled in her eyes as she smiled. "And I finally believe that." As they exchanged vows and sealed their love with a kiss, the applause and cheers of their loved ones surrounded them. This was the ending she had fought so hard for, the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. The evening breeze carried the scent of fresh flowers as Darasimi and Io walked hand in hand through the garden of their new home. The twinkling fairy lights above cast a soft glow, making everything feel almost magical. "I still can't believe this is real," Darasimi murmured, looking up at Io with a smile. "After everything, we're finally here." Io chuckled, pulling her closer. "You deserve this, Darasimi. We both do." The past had been full of struggles, pain, and uncertainty, but standing there, wrapped in the arms of the man she loved, Darasimi knew that she had finally won. The world that had once seemed so cruel had given her a second chance, a chance at love, peace, and happiness. Their friends and family gathered on the patio, laughter and music filling the air. Ido, now Io's business partner, raised a glass in a toast. "To new beginnings, and to Darasimi, the strongest woman we know." The crowd erupted in cheers, and Darasimi felt her heart swell with emotion. She had once been an orange seller, struggling to make ends meet, but now she was a woman who had conquered every obstacle thrown her way. Io leaned in, his lips brushing her ear. "Are you ready for forever?" She turned to him, her eyes shining with love. "I've been ready since the day I met you." As they danced under the stars, Darasimi knew that this was more than just a happy ending, it was the beginning of a lifetime filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. The moral of the story is that kindness, resilience, and hard work can change a person's destiny. Darasimi's selflessness in helping a stranger led to an unexpected opportunity, but it was her determination and perseverance that transformed her life. No matter where you come from, your attitude and effort can open doors you never imagined possible. Tell us where you are watching from and the time your watch says right now in the comment section. We would love to hear from you, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell notification. New series are coming very soon, subscribe.